My stepmom locked me in the attic every night. I couldn't speak to tell the truth, so I drew everything in a notebook. When my dad opened that notebook, he called the police immediately. My name is Sophia, and today I'm 17 years old. But when I was only 7 years old, my life became a nightmare that no one could see. I was a mute child, not by choice, but because my voice simply didn't work. The doctors said it was psychological, something that happened after my mom died. I stopped talking completely, and it was exactly this weakness of mine that my stepmom used against me. But she didn't know one thing. I had another way to communicate. It all started when I was 6 years old. My mom died in a car accident. It was quick, they said. She didn't suffer. But I suffered. I lost the only person who understood me completely. My mom always knew what I wanted to say, even when I didn't speak. She read my eyes, my gestures, my drawings. Yes, I always drew. Since I was little, it was my favorite way to express myself. After she died, I stopped talking completely. My dad was desperate. He took me to several doctors, therapists, specialists. They all said the same thing: emotional trauma. They said that with time and love, I would speak again. My dad believed that. He did everything he could. He bought drawing notebooks, colored pencils, markers. He knew that drawing helped me. For 1 year, it was just me and my dad. He worked a lot. He was an engineer and spent long hours away from home. But when he was with me, he was present. He always looked at my drawings and smiled. He didn't understand everything, but he tried. I drew our house, our dog, flowers, the sky. Simple things, happy things. During that time, my drawings still had color. But everything changed when she appeared. Helena, that was her name. My dad met her at work. She was a secretary at his company. He told me about her with bright eyes, saying he had met someone special. I was 7 years old and didn't understand much about relationships, but I saw my dad happy for the first time since my mom died, so I accepted it. When I met Helena, she seemed perfect. Blonde hair always done up, white smile, elegant clothes. She knelt in front of me and said in a sweet voice, "Hi, Sophia. I heard a lot about you. Your dad told me you love to draw. Can we draw together sometime?" She even brought a gift, a case full of new pencils. My dad was radiant. He looked at Helena as if she were an angel who had come to save our family. And in front of him, she really seemed like an angel. The first months were good. Helena cooked delicious dinners. She cleaned the house. She smiled whenever my dad was around. She even pretended to be interested in my drawings. "How beautiful, Sophia. You're so talented." She said that always in front of my dad. But I noticed something strange. When he wasn't looking, her smile disappeared. Her eyes became cold. 6 months later, they got married. It was a small ceremony. I was the flower girl. I wore a pink dress that Helena chose. In the photos, she's hugging me, smiling. My dad looked like the happiest man in the world. And me? I was drawing in my notebook during the party, trying to ignore the tightness in my chest that said something was wrong. The change happened 2 weeks after the wedding. It was on a Friday night. My dad had left for a work trip. He was going to be gone the whole weekend. He kissed me on the forehead before leaving and said, "Be a good girl for Helena, okay? I'll be back Sunday night." I waved and smiled. He left. Helena waited for his truck to disappear around the corner. Then she turned to me. The smile had completely disappeared. "Now it's just the two of us, Sophia." Her voice was different, cold, harsh. "You stay here and stay quiet. I don't want to hear any noise." She threw an old blanket on the floor. "Oh, wait, you can't even make noise anyway, right? How convenient." She laughed. That laugh gave me chills. She went down and locked the door. I stayed there all night, cold, hungry, scared. I cried silently because that was all I could do. I looked through the small window and saw the stars. My mom used to say that the people we love become stars when they die. Was she watching me? Did she know what was happening? On Saturday morning, Helena let me out. She gave me a bath, dressed me in clean clothes, made breakfast. Everything went back to normal. But at night, she locked me there again. Sunday was the same. From Saturday morning to Sunday night, I spent most of the time in that cold, dark attic. When my dad arrived Sunday night, Helena was hugging me on the couch, watching cartoons with me. "How were my girls?" he asked, smiling. "Oh, wonderful! Sophia and I had so much fun. We made cookies, painted, played. It was great, wasn't it, Sophia?" She looked at me with those cold eyes, daring me to do anything. I looked at my dad. I wanted to tell him. I wanted so badly. But how? How would I tell him without a voice? I tried to make gestures, point upward, but my dad just thought I wanted to go to sleep. "Are you tired, my love? Come on, I'll take you to bed." This became a pattern. Every time my dad traveled, Helena locked me in the attic, and he traveled a lot, at least twice a month, sometimes more. Each trip meant days in the attic. At first, she left me there without food. Then she started bringing stale bread and water. "I don't want you to die. It would be hard to explain." She said this, laughing as if it were a joke. The attic got worse and worse. In winter, the cold was unbearable. In summer, the suffocating heat. There were rats. I heard them at night, running between the boxes. There were cockroaches, too. I was so scared that I stayed curled up in a corner, hugging my legs, waiting for time to pass. But there was one thing Helena didn't know. She didn't know that inside one of my mom's boxes, there were notebooks and old pens. My mom was an artist. She kept art supplies everywhere. On one of the first nights exploring the attic, I found that box. That's when I had an idea. If I couldn't speak, I would draw. Not pretty drawings of flowers and sky. No, I would draw the truth. I started slowly. In the first notebook I grabbed, I drew the attic. I drew the stairs. I drew the locked door. I drew myself, small and alone in a corner. I used charcoal I found in the box, so the drawings were dark, heavy. Every time Helena locked me there, I drew more. I drew her pulling me by the arm, the bruises that left. I drew the stale bread in water. I drew the rats. I drew my tears. But I didn't just draw what happened in the attic. I also drew the contrast. On one page, I drew myself in the attic, alone and sad. On the next page, I drew Helena and me in the living room, her hugging me, smiling, with my dad in the background. I wanted it to be clear. She had two faces. I spent months doing this. I filled an entire notebook. Then I started another one. I drew calendars on the pages, marking the days I spent up there. I drew the horrible food. I drew how dirty I got because I couldn't shower. I drew every detail. And I waited. I waited for the right moment. As months passed, Helena became bolder, more cruel. She started doing other things. She pinched me when my dad wasn't looking. She pushed me. Once, she locked me in the attic for 3 straight days when my dad took a longer trip. 3 days with almost nothing to eat. When I came out, I was so weak I could barely stand. But in front of my dad, she was the perfect stepmom. "Sophia is growing so well. She's so well behaved, so sweet." She said this, brushing my hair hard, pulling on purpose. My dad didn't see. He was too busy, too tired from work. I tried to show signs. I tried to make my dad understand. But Helena was smart. She always had an explanation. When my dad saw a bruise on my arm, she said, "Oh, she fell playing in the yard, didn't you, Sophia? I even put ice on it." Lie. But I couldn't speak. When my dad asked why I seemed quieter, sadder, Helena said, "It's her phase. The therapist said it's normal for children with trauma to have ups and downs." Another lie. We didn't go to the therapist anymore. Helena convinced my dad it wasn't necessary. I felt invisible, trapped, powerless. But I had my notebooks, and I kept drawing. After almost a year living this nightmare, I had 3 full notebooks. 3 notebooks documenting everything, every abuse, every moment in the attic, every lie of hers. But I needed my dad to see it. I hid the notebooks in the attic, under old clothes in my mom's box. But how to make him look? He never went to the attic. He didn't even know Helena had the key. Then I had an idea, a risky idea. My dad always looked at my drawings,
Always. It was our tradition. Every Sunday night, he asked to see what I had drawn the week before. He praised every drawing, even the simple ones. "You're so talented, Sophia, just like your mom." I had an official art notebook that stayed in my room. In that notebook, I made normal drawings, pretty ones, colorful. Those were the drawings I showed my dad, the ones Helena knew existed. But what if I switched the notebooks? I waited for the right opportunity. A Friday. My dad was going to travel again, gone the whole weekend. He left early in the morning. Helena was in the kitchen when I went to the attic for the 1000th time, but this time I took my official art notebook and left it in the attic. I hid one of the notebooks with the truth drawings under my bed. During that weekend in the attic, I drew pages and pages in the official notebook. I drew everything. The locked door scene.
I grabbed the notebook. My hands were shaking. I went back to the living room and handed it to my dad. He opened it with that proud smile as always. Let's see what my artist did this week. The first page was a drawing of the attic. Dark, scary. My dad frowned. "What's this, honey? What place is this?" He turned the page. It was a drawing of me, curled up in a corner with rats around me. He turned more pages. Each one was more shocking than the last. Drawings of the locked door, drawings of Helena dragging me up the stairs, drawings of the bruises, drawings of calendars marking days and more days. My dad's face changed. Confusion, then shock, then horror. "Sophia," his voice came out shaky. What is this?" Helena turned from the sink. When she saw the notebook, the plate she was washing fell to the floor and broke. She went white. "What is this, Sophia? Are these imagination drawings?" My dad tried to understand, tried to find an explanation. But then he saw a specific page. It was a drawing divided in half. On one side, Helena hugging me, smiling, with him in the background. On the other side, Helena pushing me up the stairs. He understood. "Helena," he stood up slowly. "What place is this in the drawings?" I don't know what you're talking about. It must be her imagination. You know how kids are." Helena tried to smile, but her voice was strange. "This place looks like our attic." My dad looked at me. "Sophia, answer Daddy, with your head. Is this place our attic?" I nodded yes. "And you were locked there?" I nodded yes again. Tears ran down my face. "Helena!" My dad's voice exploded. "What did you do to my daughter? She's lying. They're drawings, made up. She's a troubled child. She always was." Helena screamed back. But my dad wasn't listening. He went to the attic door. "Where's the key?" "There's no key. That door has been locked for years." "Where's the key?" he yelled in a way he had never yelled before. Helena realized she had lost. Trembling, she took a key from her pocket, and my dad ripped it from her hand and opened the door. He ran up the stairs. I went after him. Helena stood below without reaction. When my dad turned on the light of the attic, he saw everything. The dirty blanket in the corner, the food scraps, the rat droppings, the filth, and my mom's open box with the other 2 notebooks visible. He grabbed the notebooks, opened them, page after page of evidence, a year of abuse documented in drawings. My dad knelt on the attic floor and started crying. He pulled me into a hug so tight I could barely breathe. "Forgive me, forgive me, forgive me," he repeated over and over. I hugged him back and cried too. I cried all the fear, all the pain, all the loneliness I had kept for a year. My dad called the police, still holding the notebooks. "I need to report child abuse. My wife abused my daughter." The police arrived in 10 minutes, like I promised at the beginning of this story. Helena tried to run, but 2 police officers were already at the door. They took her away in handcuffs. She screamed that it was all a lie, that I had made everything up. But the notebooks didn't lie. The evidence in the attic didn't lie. The police took pictures of everything, of the attic, of the notebooks, of the bruises that were still on my body. They called a social worker. They called doctors. It was a long and tiring night, but it was also the night everything changed. Helena was arrested. The trial was quick because the evidence was impossible to deny. 3 notebooks full of detailed drawings, dated, showing a clear pattern of abuse. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison for child abuse, false imprisonment, and other crimes. My dad never completely forgave himself. He went to therapy, he quit the job that made him travel so much and got another one with fixed hours to spend more time with me. He completely cleaned the attic and transformed that place into something new, an art studio. For me, your drawings saved you, Sophia. They showed me the truth when you couldn't speak. You'll always have a place to draw. Always. I went back to therapy. A new therapist, specialized in trauma. It took time, a lot of time, but little by little I got better. I stopped having nightmares every night. I was able to sleep without fear. And 1 year later, in a therapy session, something amazing happened. I was drawing, as always, when I dropped a pencil. I bent down to pick it up and without thinking said, "Got it." The therapist froze. I froze. It was the first word that came out of my mouth in 4 years. I cried, the therapist cried, and when I told my dad, he cried too. My voice came back little by little, first single words, then short sentences. Today I speak normally. I still draw a lot, but now my drawings have color again. I draw pretty things, happy things. I draw the future I want to have. My dark drawing notebooks, the ones that documented my nightmare, were kept as judicial evidence. But my dad asked for copies. He keeps them in a safe. So we never forget, he says. So we never let this happen again. Helena is still in prison. She tried to write me letters a few times, apologizing, saying she was sick, that she needed help. My dad never showed me those letters, and I never asked to see them. That chapter of my life is closed. Today, I'm 17 years old. I take art classes. I want to be an illustrator when I grow up. I want to use my drawings to tell stories, to help other people. I want to show that art can be more than beauty. Art can be voice. Art can be salvation. Sometimes I still look at those old notebooks, at the copies my dad keeps. It's difficult, but important. They remind me of how strong I was. A 7-year-old child, without a voice, found a way to scream, and the world heard. If you're going through something similar, if someone is hurting you and you don't know how to ask for help, find your voice. It can be through drawings, letters, signs. There's always a way to communicate the truth, and there's always someone who will listen. My dad listens to me now, every day, and I can finally speak.